All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about an idea that, well, it completely rewired an entire spiritual reality. We're diving into a massive, world-altering argument from the book of Hebrews that's all about a huge shift from a system of shadows and symbols to something real, alive, and powerful.
This one verse right here, this is basically the key that unlocks everything we're about to unpack. It's dense, it's powerful, and it signals a total revolution in how humanity can even think about approaching God. And it all hangs on that one little phrase, once for all. Seriously, keep that phrase in your head. It changes, well, it changes everything.
So to really get the revolution, we have to understand the old system first, right? And that was the Levitical system. This whole thing was the God-ordained structure for Israel, built on what's called the Old Covenant. And you can think of a covenant as like a super serious binding agreement, almost like a spiritual constitution. You had a physical temple, a whole line of priests, and this endless, constant cycle of animal sacrifices to cover sin. It was tangible, you could see it and touch it. It was the center of their entire world. But here's where it gets really interesting. Here's the twist. What if this whole super elaborate system wasn't just built to work, but was also designed to have a built-in dead end? I mean, think about that. What if it was engineered, on purpose, to hit a wall it could never get past on its own? And that leads us right to our first big idea here. This limitation, it wasn't a bug, it was a feature. It was a deliberate, almost prophetic cry for something bigger, something way better. And this is where you can really see that built-in dead end. Look, if you messed up by accident, an unintentional sin, there was a fix for that. You had a sacrifice you could bring. But what about the big stuff, what the Old Testament calls high-handed sins? We're talking about conscious, deliberate, I know this is wrong and I'm doing it anyway rebellion. For that, the system had nothing. Total silence. No sacrifice, no ritual, no answer. And that was absolutely on purpose. And that silence, that was the whole point. It was designed to make people feel the crushing weight of that kind of sin, to make them realize they needed a solution that could fix the heart, not just patch up the action. You could say the system itself was literally screaming for a replacement. So what's the answer? Well, that replacement, that better solution, is what the text calls the New Covenant. Let's dig into what it actually brings to the table. The New Covenant basically shows up and answers that cry with three incredible provisions. First, you get definitive forgiveness, even for those high-handed sins we talked about. Second, it offers internal transformation, a promise to actually change you from the inside out. And third, you get this dynamic, living security in your relationship with God. It's a total package. And this promise, wow, it is the direct, stunning answer to that deafening silence from the old system. Can you just imagine living with the weight of knowing some of your sins had no solution? And then you hear this, a forgiveness so complete that your sins aren't just covered up, they're gone, forgotten. That's not just a small tweak, that is a radical, reality-bending shift. Okay, so it's not just about forgiveness. It's also about access. Like, how do we actually connect with God? And the answer here, well, it's another complete game changer. See, the old way was all about a place, a physical temple, and it was just a shadow, a copy of the real thing in heaven, and access was super restricted. Only certain people could go into certain areas at certain times. But the new way, it's not a place at all. It's a person. Jesus becomes the reality that the building was only ever pointing to, and through him, anyone gets direct, confident access. And this part is so important to get. Christ's role is twofold. He's not just the guy with the map who shows you the way to God. No, he is the way. And even more than that, he's the destination. He is the actual living, breathing meeting place where God and humanity finally come together, perfectly and forever. All right, so we've got a new kind of forgiveness, a new way to get access. What's the last piece of the puzzle? We need a new kind of priest to handle all of this. And this chart just lays it out so clearly. The old priests, they were mortal. They died. You had to keep getting new ones. But Christ's priesthood, it's based on a life that can't be destroyed. The old guys offered animal blood over and over and over. He offered his own blood just one time. Their work was always temporary. His is forever. I mean, it is a complete and total upgrade in every single way you can measure it. One. Just one. Remember that phrase from the very beginning? once for all. That's what this is all about. One sacrifice, one time entering the real holy place in heaven, and it secured a redemption that never, ever, ever runs out. The cycle is finally broken. The endless repetition is over.
And listen, this isn't just something that happened 2,000 years ago that we read about in a history book. The text says he always lives to make intercession. That's present tense. That means right now, this very second, he's actively working on behalf of believers, applying all the benefits of what he did. It's a living, breathing, current ministry.
Okay, let's start pulling all these threads together. It's time to move from the shadow into the reality.
And what this timeline really shows us is that the new covenant isn't just some one-and-done historical event. It was kicked off, inaugurated at the cross. It was proven true, vindicated at the resurrection. It was presented to the Father at the ascension, and it's being applied right now, today, through his intercession, and one day will all be wrapped up, consummated when he returns. It's a huge, dynamic story, and we're actually living in the middle of it.
So, when you boil it all down, the big takeaway is just the incredible scale of this change. We're talking about a move away from external rituals and routines that just pointed the way toward an actual living, breathing relationship with God. The best way to think about it is this. It's like you've spent your whole life studying a map, and then one day, you look up, and you're standing in the territory itself. So I want to leave you with this one question, because it takes all this big, heady theology and brings it right down to where we live. What does it actually mean for you, personally, to know that even in your absolute worst moments, you have a perfect advocate, a perfect high priest speaking up for you, right now? Well, according to this text, it means peace, it means security, and yeah, it means everything has changed.